All right, this is Winnie, who I was not expecting, and this is Monty, the game show host, and this is their roadmap to success. Now, I primarily came here to work with Monty, and Monty has a couple issues. He marks in the house, and he is aggressive towards other dogs, especially on walks. And obviously, you can see he can be friendly with other dogs because he's comfortable with her. Now, she kind of runs the show in some capacities here, but when I corrected her, she kind of lost a little bit of her confidence. And that will come back, but she was kind of, I think some of her confidence was related to dominating him. And so they're both a little insecure in their own ways. So, and that's pretty normal when you have reactive dogs. They're usually insecure dogs. So before we get to the summary, one of the things I didn't go over is I'd like you to get into a habit of training the dogs to do other things. Now, there are two guardians here, one guardian for this dog, one guardian for this dog. What I would suggest you do is maybe on Sunday of each week, one of the guardians you switch off. 1 week, the one guardian A, goes to YouTube and finds a video about how to train a dog to do a trick or command. Balancing a treat on their nose, playing dead, rolling over, whatever it is. Just like humans, dogs have self-esteem and confidence. And the more skills they have, the more confident they feel. Insecure dogs have low self-esteem and confidence. So if we take the next 2 months and the guardians trade off, one Sunday, one guardian teaches both, and I would teach both dogs. So go find these YouTubes on video, all these videos on YouTube. All these guys want to be the next Caesar Milan. So they all have explained how to do all these tricks. It's free. So find an easy one, train both dogs, and then that week put an emphasis on practicing that trick with each dog. And then at the end of the week, the roommate B teaches both dogs another trick. And so you switch off at the end of 2 months. I know you're going to take a break for the holidays, but at the end of 2 months of doing this, now each dog has 8 new commands. That's going to really seriously increase their self-esteem and confidence and make her less bossy and him less reactive. Now, his reactivity and his marking is absolutely related. His guardian really spoiled and lavished love upon him. And as a result, I think that he thought that he had to protect her. And a lot of women give dogs unconditional love, and a lot of dogs interpret that as weakness. So we talked about petting with a purpose, which is asking the dog to sit, come, or lay down before we pet it. When we pet it, we're going to scratch it under its chin to facilitate that nose-up orientation. Yes, that's what a dog looks like when it feels good about itself. And we're going to say just the command word. The guardians had problems saying the word, good, sit, or what a good, smart dog. We're just going to say just sit, just crash if they lay down, or whatever the word is, just come. We're going to make it easier for the dogs to understand what we're saying by just using a smaller vocabulary. And if we give the dog a command, if I say sit, I'm going to say sit as the command. When the dog sits, I'm going to pet it and say sit as the reward. So one during the command stage, one during the reward stage. After a while, what the dog's going to do is come and sit in front of you to prepay for attention. When they do, we're just going to say it once, and we're going to turn over and just pet the dog and say sit. Now that's really becomes passive training. In that case, the dog is really prepaying for the attention. But we're also going to use passive training. So if the dog comes to us, we're going to pet it and say come. Dog sits, we're going to pet it and say sit. And again, try to pet it under its chin to facilitate that nose-up orientation. The more you pet with a purpose, the more you passively train your dog. Now the dogs know what we can do to make them happy, and they'll start seeking out and repeating those behaviors. And that way, we're teaching the dog, this is how we want you to behave. We're going to keep on practicing the dog bed, and I would give the same technique for the different dog beds and the kennels if we use kennels. So the dog has a different designation. I could say, go to Cabo, go to Mazatlan, go to Cancun, or whatever the names of the dog beds are. Let me see. We're going to change the leader-follower dynamic by enforcing rules consistently. Remember, you have 3 seconds to correct or reward your dog for them to make the connection. It's going to take a lot of repetitions. So having rules and consistently enforcing them helps the dog see the humans acting like leaders. One of the rules would be the dogs are not allowed to be on this carpet in this main room while any humans are eating food. They're going to use the escalating consequences to move the dogs away from doing those, from being on the carpet. Now they're going to keep on trying, going to different areas. So that's why I would, like I talked about off camera, recreate situations and practice it. Before you're going to eat an actual meal, maybe we get a piece of roast beef or something, we microwave, and we put it down, and we put a couple plates down, and we pretend like we're eating roast beef. So if the dog comes on the carpet, we can stop and disagree with the dog using the third consequence, or the first one, first and third probably, and then move back towards the couch, sit down, and pretend to eat that roast beef. Once the dog actually goes and lays down in the dog bed or somewhere else, then we're ready to do the real thing. Then we get our real food, sit down in the same place. The dog has just done a dry run. Now it should be easier for them to do the behavior that we want them to do, right? Yes, that's right. Okay, so passive training and petting with a purpose is by far the easiest things you can do that will have the biggest impact on your dog, but you have to get in the habit of doing it. It'll take you a couple weeks, really about a month before it becomes a habit. Let me see. We want to use the escalating consequences. Number 1, hiss. Number 2, stand up, turn to face. Step 2 steps back when the dog goes stationary, stand, sit, or lie down. Third one is we march directly at the dog until it turns sideways. Unless it's in a designated no dog zone area, then we keep on bumping into the dog until it gets past the line. Then we go to the second consequence. We pivot back up when the dog's stationary, and then we pause a second and then go back to doing what we're doing. Fourth consequence is the leash timeout. Put the dog on a leash, step on the leash. When the dog sits, we take the dog leash, foot with the leash, slide it towards the dog to take the tension off. When the dog lays down, we take our foot off the leash. It's now free. We wait for the dog to walk away and be calm for a couple minutes before we take the leash off. This way it's not a quid pro quo. We do not tell the dog to sit or lie down. We wait for the dog to do those things on its own, then we take action. Now the focus exercise in the video above this is something that's going to be really important for the guardian to practice with him. Follow the instructions. That's a pretty long video, but that explains in detail how you want to do it. Make sure you practice the turn. Make sure you practice the focus first inside up to 20 seconds, then in the backyard up to 20 seconds, then on walks for 20 seconds with no other dogs around. And practice, and right now, while you're on walks, practice the U-turn. So anytime you see a dog and your dog starts to react, do a quick U-turn. And so start practicing that. What I would do is in between every driveway, do 2 U-turns. So come to the driveway, turn, and as soon as the dog turns, have that treat down at its nose level. So as it turns around, the treat's right there, pop the treat in its mouth and say turn, take 2 steps the other way, then turn again, and then go back the original direction you're going. And again, anytime he's reactive to a dog or anything, any situation, you want to increase the distance between him and whatever it is until he stops reacting. Let me see what else. Make sure that we don't walk around dogs. Again, burning energy matters. So if the dog's in our way, if they're asleep, we can step over them. If they're standing, we're going to walk through them so they learn I need to defer and get out of the human's way. Let me see what else. Not be allowed the furniture for 30 days. Now, I said 30 days for as long as the problem's still going on. The guardians kept on repeating it's only 30 days. It's 30 days minimum. And you can go down to the floor and cuddle with them. But for marking, this is him thinking that he needs to be in charge. So he has to pee on things to let another dog, if it happened to come in, know that there's somebody in charge. So the more that we pet with the purpose, the more we enforce the rules, and the more that we don't let him on the furniture, the less inclined he's going to be to mark inside the house. Now for the walk, we're going to use the martingale collar, the special twist of the leash that I showed the guardian, and we have the structured walk rules. Number 1, the dog needs to walk in position. So give each dog a position. Put him on the right and her on the left or vice versa, and they always walk in those positions. So that way they know when I'm going to walk, this is where I'm supposed to be. Now their shoulder should be aligned with our hip. Don't let the dog walk in front. Whoever's in front is in charge. And as soon as the dog starts to walk in front, we give a quick pop by bending our elbow forward, not backward. If the dog starts lagging behind, don't pull from behind. A lot of people put the leash and start pulling the dog backwards. Don't do that. Oh, you're going to go away anyways. Come here, buddy. Well, I'll just give Winnie all the affection then. So what we're going to do is, again, pop it, go forward. So the dog is coming forward. Don't pull the leash back as you're putting tension on the leash. Pop it up and then relax it. Relax it so quickly he doesn't get a chance to pull back and we don't activate his opposition reflex. Rule number 3 is to keep your arm nice and relaxed. Don't put any tension on it or muscle it up. It needs to be. If the dog lags behind, just let your arm go dead and keep walking. Rule number 4 is no stopping and sniffing. Now, to say a dog can't sniff would be cruel. But if we let the dog stop to sniff something and I stop, then he's telling me what to do. So if he stops to sniff, let your arm go dead and keep walking. The rig will keep him coming with you. And then the 5th rule is important mostly for him, no marking. Because everything he pees on, he's claiming as his territory, and that's him asserting himself as a leader. So if we stop him from marking outside on walks, that's going to take away some of his the reason and rationale that he has for marking or for being reactive to other dogs. We're also going to stop using the retractable leash because that lets the dog walk all over the place. And again, if he's in front, he sees himself as the leader, and also he's going to be more reactive to you. We didn't talk about this, but dogs eat in the order of their rank. So what I do is I put food down in both bowls. Dogs are not allowed to eat it. Then I go and I use the escalating consequences to disagree with the dogs as they try to come close. Remember, they can't be within 7 feet of each other when they're eating. What I would do then is whoever is calmest, I would invite that dog to eat first. And the other dog has to stay behind a line, maybe off the wood, into the kitchen there. And then the first dog gets to go and eat. Now, if he goes to eat, once he starts eating, he has 3 minutes to eat. As soon as he walks away from the bowl, we pick up the bowl, we dump the food out of the bowl, and we put the empty bowl back down. It's important to put the empty bowl back down. Most of the time they'll lick the empty bowl. Once they realize it's empty, they have to leave. Then we invite the second dog to come in. It eats out of its own bowl. Also has only 3 minutes to eat. At 3 minutes, if it's still eating, we pick up the bowl and dump it. 3 minutes is 2 minutes too long for most dogs. Now, the most important thing is when we put the food in the bowl, the human is going to eat something in 5 or more bites first, because dogs eat in order of their rank. If we go out to lunch and we eat lunch outside and the dog doesn't see us eat, doesn't think we have eating privileges, that will actually lessen this respect for us as authority figures. So by controlling, we don't let either dog near either dog when they're eating, so both dogs see that we're being enforcing the same rules consistently. They don't have to enforce it for each other. Also, Winnie has a tendency to hump Monty. We don't want to allow that to happen. Remember, anything your dog is doing in your presence that you don't disagree, you're giving 2 thumbs up to. So make sure that we don't pet him or that we disagree as soon as she tries to mount Monty. Also, when we come home, if the dogs are excited, jumping up, ignore. Remember, excited is not happy. Ignore. Once they're settled down, start reaching for them. As soon as they see you reaching, they start wiggling and getting excited. Pull your arm back. Don't say no. And just continue doing your thing. This can have to be several times until you can actually reach all the way and touch your dog and keep it 4 on the floor. Or when you're teaching the dog, you have to mand or sit with 4 on the floor in order for me to pet you. Same thing with petting with a purpose. They're going to start pre-petting, come in sitting in front of you. But that and passive training are going to help us enforce, or not enforce, but reward the dog for desires, actions, and behaviors. This way, the dogs know what they can do to make the humans happy. All right, Winnie, did I miss anything else, sweetheart? Yes, you are a sweetheart. All right, this is Winnie and Winnie and Monty's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.